Peace, everyone. How y'all doing, man? The host, Aseer the Duke of Tears. We're here again, inshallah, for another round. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank you guys for holding us down. This is, again, Super Heru Radio, the one and only. Often imitated, never duplicated. Definitely want to say peace to the Super Heru family. And thank you guys again for always holding us down and coming in and building with us and communing with us on pertinent issues that we tend to find our community, ourselves, and our people involved in. So definitely want to say peace with that. Also, I definitely want to give a shout-out to Brother Everett, who blocks the Academy of Cosmophysics. We were on his show last night. It was really, really dope. Peace to him and all his listeners, as well as all the supporters of Cosmophysics. It's definitely powerful information being brought forth in that cipher, as well as Queen Alexis K. Tyler. We want to say peace to her. Definitely another friend and supporter of the show. And as well as, again, all the unsung heroes, the people who came before us, before me specifically, who made it possible for us to be able to really see a viable means of communication in this work. So I definitely want to give praise and shades to that, to all of the elders and ancestors who came to do that. Also, anybody who, God forbid, may have lost a loved one within the past couple of days or in the process of that, please let us know. Also, we want to give a shout-out to Brother Imani, called up on last Friday's show and brought us up to speed into the awareness of what happened to a brother, a great Moorish brother, and his mother in Queens, the case of police brutality. We're going to have updates for you for that. And we're going to, inshallah, get the brother back on. So if there's anything that we can do as a community or people, whatever, we can send him some love and light donation, whatever. But as soon as I get a handle on that, I'll definitely keep the family abreast and posted. So, again, this is Moon Day night. We are in the, so today is the 7th. So allegedly Election Day is tomorrow, so they may not do it tomorrow. But they're talking about, when we've been talking about this, that they want to do a test where they shut down basically all the electronics in the country and then create a system in which people are going to be basically under the jurisdiction or kind of like in the dark for about 2-3 days. But this is all coinciding with the drill of this giant, Kachina thing comes through. Well, some people refer to it as the Kachina. Some people are referring to it as YU-55. Some people are referring to it as G1.9. Some people are referring to it as Comet Elenin. Some people are referring to it as Wormwood. Some people are referring to it as a precursor or herald of Nibiru. Whatever you want to call it, it's definitely moving and it's definitely traveling at such a terrific speed that it's basically altering a lot of things up. Now, again, the government has been saying what it is they want it to be for a long time now. And like I said, since the beginning of the show, we've been reporting this thing since it kind of manifested out of that. And now that they're referring to it under all of these different names and categories, you got to know that there's definitely a fix in with the situation. This coupled with the fact that they are now going through their second term. Tomorrow, again, is Super Tuesday, so this is when they basically try to set up their electoral debates and their electoral situation to see who is going to try to beat the so-called incumbent who is sitting in office today. That man being the guy that is sitting in the White House or whatever. The only contender that they have that they can really feel like they can do something with about it, though, is this black man who really don't have no political experience. Not that that really matters in a sense, because neither did this guy who became president. So specifically speaking, they're in a situation where they want to create almost a dichotomy between the two black men. one who allegedly is descended from slaves, and then the other one who allegedly owns slaves, right? So you have one who is a so-called African, right? So-called African American, and on the other hand, you got the one that's the so-called Black American. So really, what you're watching is a juxtaposition or a morality play dealing with two phenotypical aspects of Black culture, both vying for the respect and admiration of corporazoid culture. So based on all of this rhetoric that you see this guy going through, like I said, he, at this time when he came out, right around the time that Scorpio was about to go direct, I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking, they were asking him who his influences are. And as he went through the typical rundown, you know, Martin Luther King, blah, 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 he really lit up when they said, well, in terms of Supreme Court justices, who do you think? And his face lit up, and he says, I'm a great admirer of Clarence Thomas. When he said that, I was like, oh, they about to get this dude. Sure enough, almost 2 weeks to the day, you get all of these different white women now coming out on some Tiger Woods shit going in on this dude. Now, the thing is, they're saying that he didn't actually do anything physical to these women or even anything that proof we're talking about. However, this basically is a means to show, again, on one level, it's a ritual to show the prowess of the Black man, to show how every chick around is basically trying to holler at him, right? It's basically to make him look virile, make him look potent. You know what I'm saying? These are some of the ways that political parties do that. This is why scandal is such a integral part of statecraft, meaning how you run a government. Scandal is definitely part of it. And specifically speaking, on one hand, again, this is to make him look virile, to make him look like he's wanted, you know, by women instead of being some old crotchety, you know, bootleg who used to run Godfather's Pizza. But also it's a means to put out there the aspect or the myth Black men are in some way sexual predators when it comes to women. You know what I mean? So this thing, like I said, being that out of his own mouth, this is who he basically compared himself to, I don't know why he wouldn't think that he would be going through the same thing. Because technically that's what they did with Clarence Thomas when he went through that whole thing with Anita Hill. The Anita Hill thing was basically the precursor to what would be the Monica Lewinsky thing, because that was around the time that they realized that one way to, again, foment their agenda is to always keep the presidency in a aspect of what they would call salacious material. So at one time, the office of the presidency was beyond reproach, meaning that nobody could come out and say nothing negative about the president or about the government or whatever. Let's say in the heydays between, you know, the late 30s and, let's say, 1950, the height of the Cold War. So nobody could say nothing necessarily disparaging about the United States, specifically the office of the presidency. But as you can see, as the years progressed into the future, let's say from 45, you can see a natural deterioration to the respect aspect of what the office of the presidency was. And even in movies, culturally, you can see that there was a switch up in terms of the moral thing, the whole moral attack on the so-called country. So these things, whether or not we want to accept them to be real aspects of control or government, these are still things that affect the overall people and the consistency of how people view the land and environment that they're in. So based on this whole thing now, they're basically creating this whole mythos or story in which you now are being presented by a physical representation of the Heru twins. They're basically trying to turn both of these guys into a manifestation of the Heru twins, meaning the two twin pillars that basically go towards the head at each other at the end of the world. So, of course, it's going to wind up between a black man and a black man. Nobody else that they have seems very viable to occupy that position. Now, remember, these things that we're building on, even though they're physical representations and these are physical things that people are investing their energy and all of that stuff in, this is still almost like a window dressing for us. This is a way for us to look into the society as they structured it and look at these individuals that are participating in this in an archetypical way, more so than in an effectual way, something that will affect you directly. Because whether you realize it or not, whether people want to believe it or not or accept it or not, since this guy's been president, nothing is really happening. Betterment for the country. Of all of the so-called people that they killed, all I've seen was this guy, creating the stimulus, got some money out there. Another thing I peeped was that they faked another assassination, the Osama thing. He killed an African so-called dictator. But in terms of the everyday home life thing, the everyday life in so-called United States, that is still as jacked up as ever. So you can only expect it to get progressively iller as they move closer to this fiasco that they call the election. And it's symbolically no coincidence that this whole election thing is going to culminate in 2012. You understand? So whether this guy is president again, whether they get this new nigga in there to be the pseudo-president or whatever, whoever it is, makes no difference because society as it stands is basically done in the archaic sense, meaning that in the sense that what we knew the American society be as growing up in it was never what we really thought it was. And the older we get and the more we progress ourselves into the future, the more we realize it definitely is not what it used to be, So based on that, we are the ones within our given circumstances that have to make the choices. We are the ones that have to decide which aspect of this thing we're going to participate in and which we're not. You know what I'm saying? This is why I don't want you doing that in the house, Moses. Give me that. You know what I mean? Like, this is the time in which we have to decide what's up. So as we are now moving into this full direct Scorpio thing that we're in right now, this is the time when a lot of us in our own personal lives are going to be confronted with a lot of the ramifications of our communication or lack of communication. So in those instances in which you should have expressed yourself and didn't, in those instances in which people were expecting you to be about something and you didn't fulfill that obligation, what wound up happening is it created a schism between you and those people. And from that point on, in your own interpersonal life and interpersonal relationships, you find yourself having to be on eggshells when you're having conversations with people recently, within the past, let's say, since Scorpio's been direct. If you're in a situation where you feel that you can't express yourself, these are instances in which you stifle yourself for the sake of someone else. These types of things or these types of behavior is not necessarily something that is indicative of all of us, meaning that this is not something that we all strive to do purposely. This is a form of behavior that we wind up dealing due to the fact that this is the first time in any of our history or culture that we've built on things to such a level like this. So, like I said, the more we're supposed to be working on the internal battery, the internal mind, the aspect of yourself that is eternally blessed and divine and is coming more and more aware of itself. This is the time when you have a lot of people, again, trying to get you to spend your energy and information to what they think your agenda should be. You understand? It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence at the time that we have the most freedom to do shit, right? The most ability to be able to exact some sort of change that we see in our own basic community by starting small, like doing like I said, like neighborhood watch, or running the dudes selling the rock on the block, getting them off the block, doing what you got to do to upgrade your community, to fortify it, because that's what these Caucasian people is doing in their community. They are literally fortifying their community. When that whole thing went down in Katrina, and them police officers that was shooting black people trying to get across the river, trying to get across the Mississippi River, what you don't know is that Blackwater was given direct order to shoot and kill people down there. That was one of their first exercises. People don't know what Blackwater is. It's a military contracting death squad force that is employed by the United States of America. Founded by a guy named Eric Prince, who himself is a generational Klansman. You know what I'm saying? So they gave these people kill orders to do so, to the point that Kanye West even, that was the part that they bleeped out of his George Bush hates black people speech. They definitely had kill orders and all of that. And just recently, they indicted and prosecuted and sentenced 4 policemen who were down with that, as if they were the only ones. But they were the ones that they caught. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a lot going on in that. You know what I mean? So attached to that, then you have the whole Ophiuchus thing, which is the Soul 13 Zodiac thing that, you know, again, we've been building on for a while. But some people, astronomers, astrologers, are in disagreement. Some of them feel that it does not exist. Some of them feel that it is another remnant of just a leftover aspect of Sagittarius moving into Scorpio, so forth and so on. I'm not going to get into what other people are saying about it. I know what the research I've done on it, and what I know is that Ophiuchus as a region occupies the space between the tail of Scorpio and the arrow of Sagittarius. You know, the claw of Scorpio and the arrow of Sagittarius. So within that space is that 13th area. And within that, Ophiuchus is also another way of saying Aesculaps, which is another way of saying Imhotep. So Aesculaps, the guy that you see in Greek mythology, who's the god of medicine, is actually Imhotep. But Aesculaps and Imhotep and Ophiuchus are basically all the same thing. The other aspect of that was that Aesculaps also was referred to as the father of Apollo, meaning that Imhotep is the son of Apollo. Apollo is the son of Imhotep, or Aesculaps, also known as Zeus, also known as Ethos. So then that would mean that as the son of Apollo, Heru is then connected to this NG as well. So this is why we refer to it as, people in the Golden Dawn refer to this as the age of, or the Aeon of Horus, right? Now, Ophiuchus contains 7 Messier galactic clusters, okay? If you want to research them and look what they look like, you would go to the JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratories, or the NASA website, and you would type in galactic clusters, and then you would type in M9, M10, M11, M12, M14, M19, M62, and M07. Also check out NGC 6240. That section, the NGC 6240, is actually a remnant of 2 galaxies that came together. The same way that our Milky Way galaxy Sorry, guys. Gotta get this kid in the bath and go to bed. When you look at those things, the same way that you have the Milky Way galaxy that we exist in right now, right next door to us, you have Andromeda. Within another, I would say, 2 million years, the Milky Way and Andromeda are going to be the same galaxy. So all galaxies basically are functioning from a binary system. Earth, or I would say our sun, is unique in that sense because it is the only thing in the galaxy, the only singular sun in our galaxy. You have to understand, most suns are binary. So for us to have one sun in this galaxy kind of doesn't make sense. However, there is the illusion or the evidence that there may be a hidden sun that exists. This hidden sun has an orbit that passes directly in front of us and the moon. But because its orbit is in such a synchronistic avenue, synchronistic avenue, it's sometimes unpredictable in terms of its actual trajectory. So what some people are referring to as YU55, or like I said, G1.9, any of the other designations or real or false designations they have for it, this thing is consistently expanding. This section of the galaxy, for whatever reason, is resonating outward, meaning that it's expanding and going out, which then is attracting huge galactic mass to it, which is why we have such a heightened feeling of something bearing down on us, you know what I'm saying? So, to reiterate that, the coming together of these two galaxies in the section of space referred to as NGC 6240 is an aspect or a symbolic remnant of a galaxy in terms of its merging itself together. So it's the same symbolic aspect of us now reaching the point where we are starting to merge our consciousness and merge what we believe as community, as society, as spiritual beings together. Yet that together is based upon the singularity that exists in all of us. You know what I'm saying? And that singularity is a necessary aspect of physical expression. So the more you invest in working to maintain the physical aspect of relationships that have already proven themselves to be obsolete, the more you will be allowing yourself the luxury of being indecisive at a time when you don't necessarily need outside validation for what it is you feel that you are here to do. So the upsurge recently that you've seen of all of this people rebelling against the system and quote unquote uprising against the traditional hypocrisy of what we today call Western civilization are all just cyclical time. They're cyclical events that happen whenever a society is reaching the point of crescendo, and that's what's happening to this society. All of these things that we see in terms of deterioration of society and what it was as opposed to what we wanted it to be or what it could be, all of that is irrelevant now, because what could have been saved or what should have been saved could have and should have but wasn't. So the man is not going to create a system to bring everybody together. So the more he promotes that that's what he's doing, the more the opposite is actually happening. So again, you have a two-pronged attack. You have those people who themselves are literal entities of self-destruction. Don't throw that on the floor. Of self-destruction, as well as those people who are here to fight against that, people like us. that ain't going to happen if we are not in a state where we can discern out of our community who's really who and who's down for what. Because I don't know about you, I've been looking at some of the things that have been happening since this dude has been president, and it really reads like a play-by-play of a COINTELPRO psychological operation that a lot of us are, in part to. So one of the aspects of the coming time is the fact that we are kind of functioning into what they refer to as a Sophic year. A Sophic year is based on Sirius rising, okay? Now, Sirius rises approximately, it has 365.25 days, right, which coincide to the summer solstice. This coincided with the rising of the Nile. So a Sophic cycle is when the civil and Sophic years begin on the same day. Okay? So a civil year would be a basic, it's kind of like the long count and the short count on the so-called Tamarkan or Olmec calendar. But what makes the Sophic year so special is the fact that, again, everything is functioning on the same day. So when you do the knowledge on that, this is another way. Sophic cycles or Sophic years are usually when most of the heaviest cosmic and earth changes tend to go down. So since the Sophic year started in, March, that just passed, we've been seeing, astronomical events like every other day. Now you have to understand this is a great and privileged time for us to exist because this never happened, okay? So the fact that it's happening and we're all witness of it and we're all conscious of it now is significant beyond all comparison. And this is the time when we need to start to do the knowledge to how to integrate these systems of awakening within ourselves to outlast or outlive the remnants of what the old paradigms are going to be. Now, the old paradigms are anything that we have outgrown. Okay? So do the knowledge. When you talk about Herodotus, right? When we talk about Herodotus or Herodotus, as some people call it, he talks about the pole shift in Europe. He wrote a book called History. And in that, he basically said that at that point, the time was different because the ecliptic cut the equator at right angles, which then created what they call axial inversions. What this basically means is that when people saw the sun during the time of Herodotus, the sun basically rose in a straight line as opposed to the diagonal way that you see it on TV or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. So it's a situation where this thing where this is why those Europeans, those Caucasoid surf Europeans, who really had no understanding of maritime or navigation or whatever, this is why they thought the world was flat, because when the sun would rise and would fall, it would rise and fall in the same spot. It looked like it would be in the same spot because it was rising on the level of the elliptic instead of the ecliptic. So when you do the knowledge to it, this also explains why the consciousness was reoriented to graft people into believing, to a false aspect of what people believed to be society was. So, for instance, let me do this first. So when they thought the world was flat, like I said, this is why, you see. And this is what I mean about history. Like, they'll tell us stuff like that, like they thought this world was flat or whatever, but then they were still able to navigate somewhere. How did they do that? So the sun's 21st century position against the background of the stars basically has shifted by about as much as 2 constellations. from the sun's position that was noted by about the 5th century by people like Pliny or Pliny the Elder, as well as some of the Moorish scholars that existed around that time. Well, to call them Moorish scholars, some people would say that's not true. The Moors, in the traditional sense, did not appear until the 7th century. However, it's not like these people just came out of nowhere and, hey, we're Moors. No. When I say it, I'm just using it as another means of describing original people, So you don't have to get so geographically, phenotypically specific. I'm just using that as a way of saying original people, period. So in the 5th century, around that time. So back then, the sun was in front of Gemini in the first 2 weeks of May. Now, if you do the knowledge to it, the sun is in front of Aries. You know what I'm saying? During the same 2 weeks. So we're doing the knowledge that our solar system, whether we realize it or not, is not a fixed thing. Alignments are alignments, but alignments are not necessary. But there's not necessary. You can't have a fixed alignment per se, because technically everything is vibrating, everything is in motion, so nothing can stay finite in a basic position for too long. You know what I'm saying? So this essentially is why what's happening is the fact that we, whether we realize it or not, are spiritually, cosmically, psychologically reforming what this solar system is starting to look like. All of these dreams that you're having about seeing old people that you've never seen in a long time, or dreams that you're having, or situations where you keep seeing the same numbers manifest and redundancies like that, all of these are evidence that the species mind pattern is putting itself through a certain form of regeneration or reorganization. Therefore, if that's what's happening internally, you have to know that externally the physical world is going to manifest that. So when we say as above, so below, we're saying as above, so below, no doubt, from the space, from the stellar to the street, from the sky to the earth. But ask yourself, where does the sky start? Does the sky start where the buildings end? Does the sky start where the ground ends? You see what I'm saying? That means that when we talk about heaven, what people don't realize is that the earth is already in space. So you're already here. So when we do the now to the 25,820 years that we'll round off to, let's say, 25 to 26,000, there's a wobble on the axis of the earth. During that time, the positions of the stars are measured by the equatorial coordinate systems that slowly start to change. This change is caused really due to the change in the coordinates caused by the precession of the planets, not the motion of the stars themselves. Awesome. So I'm going to say that again. Just so you do the knowledge. The change every 25,824 years. Let's round it off to 26. Let's round it off to 26,000 years, let's say. Right? The planet wobbles on the axis during that time once. When that happens, the positions of the stars are measured or have to be measured by the equatorial coordinates of the system because they're slowly in flux. They're slowly changing. You understand? This change is happening not because of the motion of the precession of the stars, meaning how the stars are moving, but it's actually based upon the motion of each star, how each individual star is manifesting, which then creates a universal crescendo that travels or translates into the reforming of what we perceive to be the Milky Way or our internal galaxy or universe. So they done already come out and said that you got a secret planet next to the sun. They done already come out, or behind the sun. They done already come out and said that there's another Earth-like planet that's closest to Eris right now, right? They're calling it Tyche, Tyche, also known as Tai Chi. There's a movie that you guys should probably peep, man, that I just saw. It's called Melancholia. We talked about it a little while ago, but yeah, Kirsten Dunst is in it, and Kiefer Sutherland is in it. You got to see this movie. It's kind of artsy. It's excellent. So there's like vignettes where like it's in like slow motion, but when you do the knowledge to it, this is exactly what we've been talking about. You got to see this movie. But what it really is, it deals with the red and the blue Katrina. Mozzie, you have to go take a bath now. Man.
I'm gonna take him in. I got him.
Okay.
I just woke up a little late. I just wanted to proceed. Give me proceeding about things. Thank you.
I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying.
You just sound like I'm not doing my job, and I do it every.
Nobody's saying that.
Okay, great.
All I'm saying is this movie specifically, this Melancholia thing, has created a situation where in the movie, how the different aspects of the world are playing themselves out as the world is going into a destructive phase. It takes place during the time of a wedding, and anytime you see a wedding in a movie, you got to know that that's an allegory for an alchemical wedding. An alchemical wedding is a wedding of genes that create a different outcome. This is a form of alchemy, right? So in every wedding, you have a bride. The bride is responsible or is an aspect of the Briah or the Briatic world. This is the world in which things, the emanations of things manifest into the Malkuth, which is the real world, which is where we are right now. But this real world is only as real as it can be based upon the people holding on to the illusion. Therefore, in the movie, what you'll see is a white girl who is totally apathetic but has everything in the world for herself. This white girl in this movie represents not only Western society, but she represents America. Then her sister, who allegedly got the same pop, got a British accent. So she then represents Great Britain and the crown, you see. Then, I'm not going to give away the whole movie, but you got to do the knowledge as to how everything syncs up with the coming of this thing that people are calling a comet, but turns out to be something else. Now, there's a companion movie to this that's out or is about to come out called. There's another movie, companion movie coming out with this called Another Earth. And in this movie, it's basically the same premise, only difference is instead of it being an asteroid or some sort of otherworldly thing, it's actually it's actually an alternate version of this Earth. So as we've been talking about people about to start meeting the etheric doubles and all this other stuff, remember, these people can't do anything to you up front. Everything they do, they got to start to prepare you for based on incrementalism. So this is how they've been preparing us for this whole thing, even though they're not necessarily saying that that's what's going on. This is the mode of control in society that they have to do because nothing can really be sprung on somebody. There's always some sort of warning somewhere. You understand? That's the beauty, again, of being in an interdependent society, civilization based on physical matter. Everything affects everybody. Everything affects everything else. Everybody affects everybody else. That's just how things are, you know? So, case in point, this is why you see them basically going full press now for this thing that we've been talking about them doing for a couple of months now in Nigeria. This thing is getting stupid now. They done killed 64 people, and today, whereas 2 days ago, 100 and some odd people got blasted in some sort of suicide bomber thing. Now, you know these Africans, they'll wild out, cut off people's hands and all that, but you'll never hear about none of that. You never hear them dealing on that suicide bomber shit. That's not an African thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something Africans are known for doing like that. It wasn't something that Arabs was known for doing either, to keep it real with you, up until very, recently. It wasn't like they was doing suicide bombs when they was fighting against Turkey in 1914. All of that suicide bomber shit, all of that shit came out of CIA. All of that came out of intelligence. So when you hear these Africans, so now when I'm hearing them talking about Nigerian suicide bombers, you know that that's not real. That's the United States. So, again, I'm not on that boogeyman. The United States is the cause of every bad thing in the world, but it's pretty consistent in its devilishment, you know what I'm saying? It's very much consistent in that devilishment, so we got to do the knowledge to that. And the fact that, again, Nigeria is targeted in that way, it's targeted this way specifically just due to the fact that they've created a situation where they can't really do anything anymore other than what it is they've known for. So Nigeria specifically is strategic because this is another way where they can start to hook up their plans for, after the genocide goes down in Libya, they'll be able to start to unite an African pipeline because as it stands now, you got to understand that most of these African nations were never really post-colonial nations. All of them basically still kept up with the colonial system of education. These Africans. So even though they was able to still speak their own language and all of that, their brightest and best was still urged to leave and go to Europe. You understand? So, it's no coincidence that the level of disparity and despair in the continent is such that nobody is basically self-sufficient. Like, how can you have a whole continent that's twice the size of half the nations in the world, and the people that live there don't have no export or import capability by themselves? How is it that 90% of all of the African nations in the so-called United Nations are sponsored or have to be sponsored by a European nation? What's up with that? How are you calling yourself sovereign and having your own flag and trying to act like, because you got your own country of black people and you come over here and shit on the black Americans, that you better when you're actually worse? At least the black man in America, if he don't want to do nothing, he don't do nothing. So niggas can't really force him to do anything, which is why they resorted to just killing him. They're just like, well, we can't do nothing with this nigga, so let's just start killing him wholesale. Because they won't get jobs, they won't cut their hair, they won't stop sagging their pants, they won't finish college, they won't get a regular job, they won't stop smoking weed, they won't stop selling crack, they won't stop. You know what I'm saying? They just won't stop. We just won't stop doing what the hell we want to do, even at the sense of it killing us. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand there's a certain degree of power in that, too. There's a certain degree of exponential power that, for whatever reason, we're not doing the knowledge to. You know what I mean? See? So it's good in that sense that we still have that rebellious spirit. It's just that we got to find a way to localize it and focus on how to mature it. The other aspect of this is the fact that not only are they pushing this for the Nigeria thing, but this Nigeria thing has become the basis of their overall attacks in the continent. A lot of the wars now are moving from, like a couple of years ago, like during the Clinton era, most of the wars were taking place in the Balkans and places like that, Now, most of the armed conflicts are happening in the Middle Eastern areas as well as the African, because Africa is basically the prize that these guys want to start to carve up for themselves again, because, again, Greece is done. You know what I'm saying? Venice is sinking. Within 20 to 25 years, Venice is going to be underwater. There ain't going to be no Venice no more. You understand? So Europe, as we understand it, is about to go through its own purging. But in the process of that, one of the illest things about this is the fact that not only is Europe going that route, is the fact that Germany now is the one that's bailing out the entire European Union. That's very scary, just due to the fact that it wasn't even maybe 70 years ago that these niggas was totally destitute and bankrupt. Now they're about to set up the situation to create that. So it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So what are we at 9:52? Let me see if we have any calls. Yeah, we got one. Yeah, let's get the home. T718, you on Super Heavy Radio?
Hello.
What up, Morris? How you, man?
Peace. What's up, pussy?
I'm good, King. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Peace to you.
Peace to you, brother. How you been?
Good, man. Maintaining. Listening to the show as usual.
Thanks, you, brother. Thanks for the support, man. Always holding us up.
Touched on a lot of things that I had wanted to bring to your attention.
Please do.
I was reading this article today, and they said that all of a sudden, because Gaddafi is out, all of a sudden these archaeologists, a.k.a. Legal thieves, all of a sudden they found an ancient indigenous, what they call castles, that Gaddafi kept as a secret. And they said the ancient people that was there is some ancient indigenous Berbers, which is basically Moors, called the Garamantes.
The Garamants, yeah. The Garamants are the foundation culture of a culture called the Numidians. The Numidians became the cavalry for the Carthaginians against Rome.
Right.
So the Garamantes or the Garamants is basically the parent culture of the Numidian culture that gave birth to Massinissa and the rest of them.
Right, because they said
and they was in Libya.
They can't find a lot of information on them, but the information that they do have, they are mentioned between 200 BC and about 700 AD.
700, that's right.
Right.
There's a book that you could get called The Golden Trade of the Moors by William Beauville. And he has a whole section in that book on them.
All right, cool. That's on my list.
So The Golden Trade of the Moors by William Beauville, Bovill. The Garamants are very ill. They're older than the so-called Bedouins, because they are the Bedouins. But these are, black people. But again, the fact that, because remember, ancient Libya was Punt in the Bible. And also at one time, it was Tunis. You know what I mean? Like Libya and Tunis or whatever. Right. It literally was Tunis at one time. Just like at one time, Philadelphia went as far in as West Virginia. Same type of thing.
Or Mauritania.
So, Mauritania, exactly. Same type of thing. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, it's good you brought up Mauritania. Mauritania, the reason why you don't hear about a lot of that shit in the news, you don't really hear about Mauritania in the news like that. The reason why is because in Mauritania, the biggest ship graveyard in the world is there.
Wow.
Where they literally take ships after, so let's say they losing money. Remember all them pirated ships and shit that they blamed on the Somalians?
Right.
What they was doing was they were scuttling. A lot of these European companies were scuttling their own ships, blaming it on the pirates and dumping the ships in Mauritania, and then blaming the Somalis pirates who are on the whole other side of the continent, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
For doing that. So they scuttle their own ships, get the insurance money, blame the Somalis, and then use that insurance money to get more ships and keep the scam going. So recently it just came out that this was going on because they allegedly found some sort of wink Al-Qaeda cell over there. So
right. There's two interesting things about them though when I looked them up. One was the Garamantes. One of the things they used to trade was Amazonite.
Yep.
And Amazonite frequency is big on cooperation and love and relationships. Mm-hmm. So there was a big dealer in that. The other one now, it blew my mind. But people would have to know about the book, what is it? Blacked Out to Whitewash, and also Elijah Muhammad gems. But the other thing they mentioned was that the Garamantes were herders. They traded Amazonite. They traded dates, but they also hunted these Ethiopian troglodytes, also known as cave dwellers.
Cave dwellers.
That was in the desert of pheasant.
That's right. That's right.
So if people don't know about what a troglodyte is, or they don't know about the Ethiopian troglodyte, Elijah Muhammad pointed out that Caucasian in the later years is the Ethiopian word for pale man.
That's right.
So I'm like, okay, wow. So not only was Gaddafi, trying to get back on the gold and bring melanated people back into power, he was also guarding a lot of ancient sites and information also.
That's right.
So that they wouldn't get their hands on it.
That's one of the secret keepers. And again, I'm not excusing the fact because this dude, he was like any other person in that arena.
Right.
He's duplicitous. He's doing both. On one hand, he giving money to Farrakhan. On the other hand, he giving money to David Berg, who set up the Children of God, which was basically the holy prostitution for all them white kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then on the other hand, he's telling his own Libyan people, we are not an Arabic nation. We are an African nation. And y'all niggas need to start getting with African women because, again, he comes a black tribe. He comes from the Gaddafi. The Gaddafi is a black tribe. And their antecedent tribe who spawned them was the they call them the Fuzzy Wuzzies in TV. In modern archaeologists, they call them that, but they're called the Fuzzins.
Yeah, I remember when you said that like a few months ago. When I looked it up, I seen the so-called European caricature pictures that drawings that they had. Yeah.
You seen them, right?
Yeah, brothers and sisters with big afros.
Big afros, thick afros, blonde, red, black, brown, thick afros. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the rebels that these people supposedly out there supporting through NATO, the piece of crap that's sitting in the presidency right now, he is presiding people, and them people is straight Arabic Nazis. They out there stringing up black people, killing them and burning them up and all this other type of stuff. But then he gonna be on TV talking about, we're supporting the rebels who are fighting for freedom. No, you supporting rebels that's killing black men and black women over there under red, black, and green flags. Like, let's keep it real, man. This is what's going on. And again, my thing is that while all of this is going on, there's always a historical connection. The same way when they broke into Iraq, they started making the bead for the they made a bead for the museum. Same way when they hit up Egypt, they made a bead for the museum. The same way now they breaking into Libya, they make a bead for the museum and find some ancient shit that this nigga was not trying to put these niggas onto.
Right.
So what does that have to do with it? So why, if it's just about the oil, then how come y'all just ain't run and secure the oil? Why you care about the old artifacts? Why y'all care about shit that allegedly has nothing to do with y'all? Unless those artifacts or whatever is really what this is about. And this is what we've been saying, that all of these modern wars that they've been fighting are all just wars, window dressing wars, for them to be able to get in there, find the ancient stuff to help upgrade a lot of their own technology that they was able to access through the Nazis after the war. But the thing is, they don't even know how to use half this shit. They need us to do it.
Right.
But they can't do it. But they can't trust us. Let the niggas put me in front of one of these ancient machines and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Let these niggas put me in front of one of these ancient machines that they scared to turn on. I'll turn it on. You know what I'm saying? I will be the first one. Like, oh, word? But see, they know. They know, son.
Yeah, they got to keep you, they would have to keep you like, what's this dude called? DeGrasse? He'll be pissing me off sometimes. He's like one of these head astrophysicists or space specialists in Manhattan.
Is this the Jap guy, the Chinese guy to be on their shit all the time?
No, not him. We know about him already. But he's another dude. I think his name is DeGrasse or something. He always be on some scientific special, but he be talking all of this scientific stuff, but they keep him like right at the edge.
See?
Right at the edge.
It's like Hawkins. That's like that nigga Hawkins. The gimp with the paraplegic.
Oh, the wheelchair god.
Yeah, the wheelchair god. You know what I mean? He's another one. You know.
When you're talking about
I heard of that though, that
when you're talking about the zodiac, they said by definition, when I was doing some astrology research the other day, they said by definition, the zodiac is literally the band that our sun travels through. It doesn't mean that there's no other constellations out there.
Yeah.
It's just that it's the band that our sun is traveling through. But right now, not only is the Earth wobbling, but the whole solar system is wobbling with the sun.
Because this other thing is coming through, upsetting the trajectory and orbit of the other shit. So if this thing comes through, you know what I mean, passes through, because what it is, it's like they're saying, like, okay, if you can imagine the rotation of the Earth going around the sun, right? What we don't understand or what they're not talking to people about is that the sun is moving too.
Right.
Everything in the universe is moving to the east, moves to the right in that sense. So if the sun, which is supposedly stationary, is not moving, then that means that it has to have another body to bounce off from to keep that rotation. You understand?
Right.
This hidden sun then is basically like a long orbit. So according to these people, there's more than one long orbit. We got the long orbit in the Bull. We got the long orbit of the hidden planet behind it, right? And then we got the other one, and then we got these comets. You know? But either way, this means that our solar system is not what they've been telling us it is. Because it ain't like these things just popped up, man. You know what I'm saying? These niggas have been giving us wrong history for 250 years straight. You understand what I'm saying? Straight. When they got it, it was twisted. When we was giving it to them, they was right. We was like, okay, the sun is moving like this or whatever. They was like, oh, word? Well, I don't know how to do that. We was like, okay, you can't add on nothing. Okay, how about this? We're going to create a version in which we divide shit to add it up. And then we create division for these niggas. You know what I'm saying? Then they're like, oh, I get it now. You see what I'm saying? Because they can't add on to make one. They got to divide. They got to break shit up to do that. So this shows you the dichotomy in terms of us as a people, man. You know, how we interrelate to one another.
All right. It's like every week they finding out something new now all of a sudden.
Yeah, some shit like, and this is what I'm saying. These are the people that people are invested in. It's supposed to be what? You're supposed to be the smartest people in the world. They supposed to have been had all this hooked up, man. We grew up with the Flintstones. They gave us the Flintstones, right? And then we got all of the Jetsons. So we got both. We got the past and the future. So according to the fucking Jetsons, we supposed to be flying around in cars and all of that. Hell, if you look at Escape from New York, all of that happened in 1997. You know what I'm saying? So, like, all of these movies now, if you notice now, we're dealing with it's like it's got to be a further future now. It's like the closer we get to the future that they set us up for in the 80s and the 70s, now they got to push that future even further back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We should, instead of shit happening in 2000 or whatever, now it's like 3,000, 30,000. Like, come on, man. Y'all ain't going to be here that long, man.
And remember when you was talking about them talking about the Queen not having any power?
Yes.
1 week.
Through the court case. 1
week before that came out, there was a mock trial held here in Philadelphia.
Really?
Barristers from England came over here to do a mock trial because they was trying to show and prove that the colonists that came over here did not have any legal authority to have the Declaration of Independence.
They didn't, because they didn't write it. The colonists had nothing to do with a declaration. A declaration was put out by us. Our cousins and them realized that, okay, we could be down with the declaration, because at the time they were seen kind of like denizens, you know. So they was like babes, but they was still kind of like under the jurisdiction, so to say. But their slaves was under them, so they still had a certain degree of power, you know what I mean? And the slaves, again, are these troglodytes that we're talking about. So specifically speaking, one of them realized, or some of them realized that, okay, if we do this, we ain't really going to have a heavy army like that, and we're going to have to do most of the fighting, because these dudes under the Articles of Association, the Articles of Confederation, is not really trying to put up no arms like that. They just giving us bread so we could fight. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to train the slaves to fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And civilize them. And then this became the Paul Revere's and whoever, the Sons of Liberty, and all these people. And then they said, okay, well, what we're going to do now, as we've proven ourselves, can we attach an independent clause for the independence of the colonies to your so-called declaration? And then niggas was like, nah. But then after Reconstruction, they was able to link it all up. So a declaration became a declaration of independence. You know what I mean? But when you look at the Constitution, the so-called Constitution, it don't say nothing about independence on it. It don't say nothing about independence of the colonies. It don't say nothing about that. It says a declaration by the United States for America in General Congress assembled in the Family of Nations. You don't even hear about the Family of Nations no more. So again, the colonies had nothing to do with America as a place. These people, that stuff only happened while they were in those 13 places. That was right down to the edge of the sea. At the time when lawyers were forbidden to come on land. If you was found to be a lawyer, you get hanged. That means if you was found to be a lawyer outside of the colony or the plantation, you would be hanged.
Right. One of the best visuals for it is that John Adams movie we talked about a while back.
The one with Paul Giamatti, the one on HBO?
Yeah, the series.
Yeah.
That's one of the good visual.
I remember that.
All right, I'm going to end with this, brother. Speaking about solutions, you ever heard of this author called Budget Meekin?
Yes.
All right, cool.
It's an interesting name for a guy.
For the people that don't know, this guy, he wrote, I think, about 4 to 5 book series strictly straight on Moorish history. But the good thing about,
I said straight on it.
Yeah, straight on it. Like, that's all he wrote about. But the good thing about his books, though, he has the day-to-day life of Moors. From marriage, relationship, commerce, trade, law, to even European status within the Moorish Empire. So
tell the people his name again.
Budget Meakin, BUDGETMEAKIN. I recommend that people, look him up. So some of the problems that we have today, whether it's relationship or male and female or dressing and ethics, he wrote about these things that the Moors were doing from the Moorish perspective. So that could help with some of the situations, some healing today.
Again, and who's writing about this? A white dude. Right? But then you talk to these black people about it, right? That's some other shit. But my thing is, how is all these white dudes the ones writing all these crazy books and we just getting them now?
Right. Like every day on my blog, I'm putting up Moorish paintings.
Yes.
I've been doing it for like a couple of days now, and not once have I repeated any pictures. So how is all these Europeans painting all these Moorish pictures, Moorish paintings?
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're gonna get into in those people who are gonna join us for the December class. We're gonna get into the real Moorish Renaissance and how art, in a sense, is used as a vehicle of time manipulation, as well as a vehicle to create worlds, and that the world that we are in is basically a tapestry that was created out of a succession of Moorish painters whose work was then copied during the Renaissance. But there's a reason why certain epochs and historical events always have R-E in front of it, meaning Re or Ra, or the sun, like the Revolution, the Renaissance, the Reconquista, the Reconstruction, the Reclamation, the Reformation. Like, what's up with all of these, Ra's and shit? Like, what's up with that? And the fact that these things have a consistent basis of that. Good night, buddy. Good night, buddy. You know what I'm saying? So it's a situation where these things are a perpetual means of consistency. Matter of fact, tell them your blog page, man, so they can check it out.
All right, they could go to MoorishBrooklyn.com.
That's what's
Fill out
up,
each
man.
one, Moorish, MoorishBrooklyn.com.
Awesome. You've been on Facebook, right?
I don't have a personal page on there. I have my business pages on there, though.
Oh, that's what's up.
But I'm able to see the pictures and the things that you put up, though, from my other pages.
Oh, dope. Good.
Right.
I want to make sure you stay in the loop with all that.
Yeah,
man.
Thanks again, bro.
Thank you, my brother, and being a consistent researcher and diligent into what it is you're doing, and being a consistent voice out there with us with this, man. It's definitely needed. So, twa for that.
No doubt.
Hope that to you, brother.
Peace.
Speak to you again, homie. Peace. Take one toy. 337. You on Super Heru Radio? No, I think that's just listening. All right. You don't have to go anymore. They've created, like the brother was saying, this whole aspect of our history in terms of the paradigm of us as Moorish people. The Moorish people do it, the Moorish people themselves as us are an eternal aspect of what this world or society is going to be. So, specifically speaking, the more you research about these aspects of us in that way, the more we can find out deeper aspects of you and find a genetic connection to what it is you want. So, yeah, that's pretty much as it is. For those people that want to do research into Moorish history, there's some good books on it. on Moorish history specifically, I could throw some out real quick.
Okay, you don't have to.
Okay.
Water, okay?
Water. Okay. Good book definitely is African Presence in Early Asia by Ivan Van Sertima, also with Brother Runoko Rashidi. Peace to him. Another good one is Black Africans in Renaissance Europe. That's definitely a good one. Another one is Mulatto Queen, Grandmother of All of Europe by Gary Lloyd. The Magician's Art for the Ritual Use of Magical Tools. By Cicero, I believe the author is. I don't remember. Kind of going off the dome. Invisible Indians by David R. Bragi. It's a good one. Africans and Native Americans, The Language of Race and the Evolution of Red Black Peoples by Jack D. Forbes. Madame Pele. Interesting book. They get into some of the Moorish practices of the ancient Hawaiians by Rick Carroll. Another good one is Indivisible, African American Lives in the Americas. Students and Scholars, Essays on African Indians. A great book to check out is a book called Conjure Time, Black Magicians in America by Jim Haskins and Kathleen Benson. She wrote it. Right here. Venetian Exile, from the Travels and Adventures of Balthazar Albuena by Robert Elwood Burns. The Black Madonna of Einstein by Fred Gustafson. Sacred Drift, of course, by Peter Lambert Wilson. African or American Black Identity and Political Activism in New York City from 1784 to 1861 by Leslie M. Alexander. Othello's Children in the New World by Jose Pimenta Bay. The Moor's Last Sigh by Salman Rushdie. The Golden Passports by Albert Lee. African Elites in India by Habshi Amarat. Lutheran Salzburgers and Muslim African Wars by Michael Gutzler. Those are some good ones to do the knowledge to. see, we got a call. 770, you on Super Heru Radio?
Hey, brother. Aseer?
Peace, brother. How you doing?
Peace. My name is Rockwell. You do a great job. Listening to your program for a while. It's definitely a vibration raiser. So I'm sending you much appreciation to you and your fam. I have something I wanted to run by you and get your thoughts on. You know, for the last, I guess, couple of weeks or so, I've been having a lot of dreams about seeing the Earth actually almost looking like a star, like a magenta color. I've had, like, communications with, like, what felt to be, to me, the animal kingdom, as far as everything is transformed. My heart is telling me that everything is going to be that everything, this whole paradigm, this whole reality, the whole corporeal reality is going to be done. It's finished. You know, it's like, that's what I feel. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what you're seeing is the primordial existence manifesting in the temporal fiction. So the time allotment that was given them to rule is come basically to an end. So the time that they will be ruling after this will be a puppet rulership where they're not really in control of anything other than what it is they produce. Whereas we live in a time where they're controlling everything that they don't produce. Because they really don't produce anything. So the system that we're moving into, say again?
They're the parasites just feeding off what we produce. We're like the battery and they're the parasite. Do you see it being a physical reality or something higher vibrational, higher dimensional wise? Or do you see it continuing on in a physical 3D reality? Or do you see everything being boosted up into a higher frequency beyond physical reality as far as the transformation is concerned?
I think it'll be a elevated level of what this place is, yet it will be a mirrored aspect of it. So the things that mean the most in this reality are the things that cannot be physically touched, but can be felt and exhibited and represented by doing something physically, which in a sense then is a ritual that brings the information of this non-physical thing here. So everything here is a three-dimensional representation of two-dimensional information. Yet, as we have integrated that now into a third density, this third density is now the density in which you understand what the density and frequency and all that stuff is. So when we were growing up, we were taught that frequency, galaxy, octave, realm, sphere, place, all of these things are different things. But really, they're all the same thing. They all mean the same thing. A different galaxy, a different space, a different time, a different reality, a different realm, sphere, octave, you know what I'm saying, wave, algorithm. All of these things are the same thing. So we're the first in our genetic line to get to this point again. But with the benefit of knowing what happened and how we got here. So we now are the ones to take this energy and put it into the species mind pattern, which will then spill over to everyone else, which then upgrades their reality to whatever it is they want it to be. So as opposed to it being one fell reality for everybody, it'll be a reality in which everybody can participate in, but only certain people can fully participate in based upon their ability to be as non-physical as they are physical. As much as you're into physical things, you're into the spiritual thing. And in the process of that, being able to attune yourself to that voice, that creation song that has been playing, but we've forgotten. So now that it's starting to pick back up, everybody is trying to bust through. So go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, because you made a great point on that, and I kind of related, or maybe I'll ask you to relate it to dreams. Why are dreams getting more and more vivid, like multiple dreams in one night, 3, 4, traveling, very cosmic? And I'm not the only one. I talk to other friends and family members who are experiencing this too at an increased rate.
Yes. I had a dream. Well, I didn't have the dream. Selena had the dream. But one morning she had woke up and she was talking to me about the dream, but I was waking up out of my dream. So my dream switched to what she was talking to me about. So I was in her dream, but she's awake telling me about the dream, you understand? So while she's telling me about the dream, I'm translating it visually as I'm coming out of the dream that I was already in. So in this dream, she's telling me how she was walking up. She woke up. We were in this giant, almost like museum house. But in this room, there was a giant curtain in front of us, right? Giant, but it was like a giant window, giant curtain type, right? And there's only a bed in the bed. So now in the dream, I'm in the bed with Amor, sleep, while she wakes up, gets out the bed, goes to the window, and then draws the curtain. When they opens it up, it's a whole nation of prehistoric giant animals staring at us and kind of like swaying back and forth, but like a giant mammoth, like a giant tiger, a giant panther, a giant giraffe, a giant rhinoceros. And then behind them is like this whole like ill prehistoric / futury looking jungle. You know what I'm saying?
TV show Terra Nova that got on now.
Right, exactly. But only thing, black people and real animals, like animals that we remember. I ain't seen no dinosaurs, but I remember giant, but I mean like huge. But they were swaying back and forth, just staring at us. And you hear them, you hear the sounds of the jungle, but it's like magnified. But you didn't hear shit until she drew the curtain. And they're all there staring, rocking back and forth, almost like waiting for us to whatever. So I looked at that. So when I woke up out the dream, I was like, I was just there, and I described it to the point that I drew it. So then that now was such a experience, right, that when I started to do the knowledge to it, I started to equate it to the fact that these animals represent the real primordial essence of who and what we really are, because each of these animals are totems. You know what I mean? That's why each one of us has a totemic spirit.
That's why the Neteru,
yes, depicted with the animals, because the animals represent the primordial nature or the lower nature of man, but that is tuned into the magnetic frequency of the planet, the intuitive nature. Like the movie The Golden Compass, where each child had a so-called demon, which was some type of animal that could talk,
that's right.
And they did things to him, right? But even in that movie, remember they had the dust, the cosmic dust, which again is cosmic molecular melanin that manifested, and they was able to put into the compass, which represents again what the Moors, right? Being lords of the 7 seas. But the 7 seas also represent not only the 7 seas of the world, because really there's only one sea. The seas that they talk about is the chakras.
The 7 chakras.
Just like in the movie Strange Tide, when in the second one they went to the underworld. Remember when they had to go get Johnny Depp? They had to get into the ship with the compass and sail to the point where everything went kind of green, which is the color of what? Osiris, which is death and regeneration. And then everything flipped upside down. But in the flipping upside down, they're right side up. So that's essentially what I'm saying is an equivalent to what potentially can happen in the situation subatomically within us. What they're going to try to promote it to be is going to be something totally different. They're going to market it like it's some type of alien invasion or some type of, attack or financial explosion.
Fear porn. Just to
meteorite.
Attention.
Right. To take away from what's going on in us. So these dreams that you have in magenta, that's reminiscent of the crown chakra, you know what I mean? And the highest etheric Ein realms, which are so sublime that we can only guess at how magnificent they are. Yet they're so magnificent that we can't see them in the state that we're at. Yet we're getting to the point where the state that we're at and the state where we're supposed to be are going to simultaneously manifest, which is why you see in all these movies.
They call it the 0 point?
Yes, 0 point. When all things balance out as one or zero, where everything is done. So that means all debts is canceled. You understand? All debts is off. Nobody owes anything. Everybody is responsible for their own karma from that point. So in that, everyone is truly sovereign. It's like that now. We, as we're talking about it, are already there. Yet we are catching up to that point physically as a Rosen bridge to fold the time and space through the communication, which is Mercury, under what's now Scorpio, which is, again, death, regeneration, Osiris, Saturn, right? Capricorn, lessons, Satan, all of the things that is going on in the physical world. But the physical world, which is manifested in what they call the Briatic world in the Kabbalah, is the bride of Frankenstein. You understand? So the bride, just like in Kill Bill, right? The bride was the one who had to get killed and raped and tortured and buried, right, in order for her to come back and kill Bill. You know what I mean? But Bill is
how do
Richard.
We quicken this?
Richard is the dick. The dick is the white phallus, the Washington Monument, the white supremacy, the whole thing. So the allegory in that is that the Caucasoid woman, in order for her to live, has to kill the white man. Because the white man is trying to kill everybody. But when I say the white man, I'm talking about anybody that's subscribing to the low-density vibration of trying to manifest a materially oriented world by parasitically siphoning energy from those more spiritually inclined.
So let me ask you, brother, what can we do, like right now, during our meditations, during our prayers, during our mantras, our visualizations, to quicken this? Because I'm trying to, to really actively participate and co-create this new reality. I know we have that power, that dark matter consciousness, and the energy is there. It's there. You feel it in the air. You open up your heart chakra and you merge it with the earth. You merge it with the sun. You feel it. Now, what kind of things can we do to apply to just quicken this and just, stand up?
Well, one thing is we need to start to study our own physiology. Find out what your blood type is. Research what that blood type represents. Look at the letters and the numbers with that. Add that up with the time and the date and all of that stuff as they refer to as numerology, to where you get a base sequence of numbers. You'll see certain numbers within your sequence that keep coming up. Those are special master numbers or specific numbers for you. This is why the deeper you get into understanding you, the more distractions outside you arise to throw you off of that. Because the more you do that, the more you find the secret. So once you can do stuff like that, whether it be yoga or running or meditation, when you're in that type of state, you need to understand the difference between what your pineal organ is and what your locus coeruleus is. Your locus coeruleus is the thing that is the primary singularity that functions all of you. that's the real you. When they do the pineal organ extraction, that's the thing they're really trying to get. The pineal organ is kind of like the egg and the yolk. You know what I'm saying? Like the avocado and the seed, you know? So unless you got a garden, you know, you tend to get rid of the seed. Yet they primarily are going for the seed, which is the locus coeruleus. This is a real small dot within a dot within a dot. This is where you really are residing. And the pineal organ is the car for that. And then the body is the car for the pineal organ. You know what I mean? So specifically, the brain is the car for that. And then the body is the car for the brain. So when you do your meditation, you should start to understand how your mind visualizes and creates imagery and source material to create the worlds within you. So what you would do is, like in the movie Inception, you know, you had the engineer, the architect, the guy, the this, the that. Each one of those things, each one of those characters were really just an aspect of Leonardo DiCaprio. The short dude with the nice suits was the right brain, which is the intellect. Then the dude who he met in Uganda when he went into the pineal gland, that's why Uganda represented the pineal gland in the movie, that was the left brain. He was the imaginative one. The girl was the sympathetic nervous system. You know what I'm saying? The Indian dude who came up with the concoction was his emotional center, the center that deals with the aspect of the body's influence with intoxication. And then all of them together represented each aspect of the brain. So you can do the same thing, but because you have melanin and understand what it is, it can bring out the best of whatever that is, that source material is, to the point where you don't have to split yourself up into alternate representations of yourself. You can see yourself as yourself and create from that and use each aspect of your dream brain, because you got two. You got the physical one and then the spiritual one. The spiritual brain is called the mind. So in the process of you understanding the difference between the pineal organ and the locus coeruleus, you create an environment in which you begin by starting in the perfect black. Then from the perfect black, you rise up into, let's say, a dark brown. And from that dark brown, you go into a kind of like dark green, and then that green kind of melds into a lighter blue, and then into a royal blue. Once you're in the royal blue space, you're in the pineal organ, because that's the color of the pineal gland, royal blue. So once you're in that space, what you'll do is look to find the smallest dot within that space. And once you find it or see it, because you tell yourself you're going to see it as you're going in. So your clue that you're in it is the royal blue color of the pineal. So once you're there in the pineal organ, what you do is look for that small black dot. Once you locate it, you then walk towards it. But as you walk towards it, you will yourself to go inside of it, which means that as you're getting closer to it, you're getting smaller and it's getting bigger. And as you put yourself into it, once you're inside of it, you want to bask or revel in the fact that you made it to this aspect of yourself, and really pay attention to the environment, what you see in it or whatever, because each thing in there is a real aspect of you. So whoever you see or whatever you see is the real you. So no matter how great or no matter how horrific, there's an aspect in it that is beautiful, because this is the first time that you've gotten back to that real center of yourself.
Wow.
This is the part of you that has hid itself away from everything traumatic that this society and alternate reality has forced you to do. That's what the pineal organ is there for. It's almost like a false door. So it functions and does everything, but it does everything because it is doing all of that to protect the singularity. And the singularity, this little black dot, is the essence of all of the universe, manifested in movies like the Men in Black, where at the end it turns out the whole galaxy was inside of this little marble. You see what I'm saying? This is how magnificent the Creator has manifested the tapestry of the world for us to inhabit, yet it's been turned askew based upon people's manipulation of the temporal aspect. So all you do in that situation, when you're getting ready to leave, you go out the way you came, but you don't turn your back. You leave with your back to it. So as you walk out backwards, the bigger you are getting, the smaller it's getting, to the point you're back into the royal blue space. What you want to do, though, before you leave, you want to bring something with you and leave it there, and you want to take something that's there out with you when you leave. And every time you do this meditation, you do more and more of that, to the point where you build a city. Say again? Yeah. You can start with a stone. Yeah, you can start with a stone. And then every time you go there, it'll be a different stone. So then that way, every time you go back into the pineal organ, you're building something else. You're building a bridge, a Rosen bridge, between the two aspects of your mind. Because now, the more you do that, the more you can focus your consciousness to exist in a singularity, which then frees up the pineal organ and the body up to do greater physical things, lift things, lift heavier things, and not, run longer, have greater stamina, greater endurance, greater perception, because your mind is not preoccupied with housing your consciousness. Your singularity is doing that. So now your mind is freed up to do whatever.
So I'm getting my
this is why they want to keep people doped up and doing false meditation, like transcendentalism and material spiritual terrorism, or what they call spiritual gangsters. Like the yoga people with T-shirts like says spiritual gangsters and shit like that, like really, really on some other. So you can getting into that, and the more you do that, the more you'll be inclined to other things that will manifest from your understanding of yourself, and the more things you'll be capable of doing. So do that. Try not to take things too personal from people. Don't cast your pearls to swine. And so with those who, can build, don't expect a baby to eat steak.
That's powerful. I appreciate you, bro.
No doubt, brother. Thank you, man.
All right. Be easy.
Thanks for calling. Pete.
Hello?
Peace. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up, bro? It's my
hey,
brother,
bro, how's it going?
Nilo, what's up?
I got in. I'm usually working tonight, so it must have been good that, so I must have had to, be on
the line,
call,
right?
and, but I had a question. I've been reading, I picked up the trade paperback of that book the series, Neonomicon, and I've been reading a lot of, H.P. Lovecraft mythos. And I remember I was listening to the show, the Friday show, and I think it was Alexis who called in and said that the woman was the female newscaster was speaking in, she was, speaking in tongues, or, she was, just speaking gibberish. And I looked it up, and I watched it a couple of times, and I was like, she's like, these aren't even intelligible words. And then I remembered, in the Cthulhu mythos, they have, their own language, and Neonomicon was speaking about that. And then I remembered, I was thinking about how Cthulhu is a space entity and how Kachin is coming. and you said that Cthulhu is this like sleeping side of us that is trying to awaken. And I was wondering, do you think that also had something to do with becoming Kachina? Because it seemed like it was really like weird that I was making these connections. I don't know.
Yes, well, that's a great correlation, and you're right. The Kachina religion began before the Hopi and Navajo people ever existed. The people who started that are called the Anasazi, which means the ancient, which means whenever you see people dealing with heavy stone masonry and stuff, that's us. So, but it was us at a time where we look like us and act like, but the mentality of us was not shaped in the capacity of this reality sequence. You understand? Mm-hmm. So it's you there, me there, us there, but we're there based on the time that we're there, not based upon what we know about that time. You understand what I'm saying?
A bit, yeah.
And
so we're there at the time, but not based. You said based on like not particularly knowing about the time.
Based on what we know time to be.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Time today is based on a temporal time plate matrix that's been harnessed and attached to the prefrontal lobe of people who exist. So back then, the Anasazi, who were remnants of the Tomoankan / Olmec / Jaguar people, were who came out of Levanta, hooked up with their cousins through the Washoe people, who again connected to the Washita, Dugdamandia, on their way up into what are now the Southwest. And in that, they erected their society. But their society based upon a particular myth about the dark time to come, because their society coincided with the birth of a supernova. So, in the process of that, began to the essence of death and regeneration. Started mapping out things that we are dealing with now come to exist. So they created a science to understand to create a functionary way of what was to come.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
They created a fiction where they began to understand how to map time based upon the deterioration of what our people, if you will, were going to experience. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
So they began to create rituals and scientifical stuff that were almost experiments in how to make that happen. So they started dealing with a lot of what the Hopi people call witchcraft, stuff like that.
Right.
And eventually they were invaded by a remnant of the Toltec people who created a functionary paramilitary force at the close of like the, let's say, because the Anasazi was there from, let's say, 535 to about, let's say, 700 or something. So by about the time that the Moors was coming or starting to wane in power in certain places in Europe, by about 900, or just coming into power, if you will, around that time, they was just starting to wild out and started dealing with things like sacrifice, allegedly. The deterioration of the society.
Right. I remember you said that, like, after a certain time, like there were certain things that, like, we kind of, like, realized were marking the deterioration of society. Like, I remember you said, like, sacrificing animals and blood sacrifices to some degree were one of them. Was like, you started going downhill to some degree. Like, we started, partaking in that.
Right. And so the people who came way after them, the Hopi and the Navajo and the Ute or the Paiute and some of the Southwest Apache, and they had that's the whole story, and then a religion was based around this whole thing, which was really based upon the cosmic associations made by the Anasazi people, based upon them being adherents, if you will, to the Olmec calendar, being that they was Olmec, the ancient ones, mound builders. And then when shit got real hectic, they went up into the mountains. When they really started going at each other, they to the mountains, and they created a whole almost fortified city way up into the rock. You know, the same type of city you see in Iraq, cities you see in old Iraq towards the desert, as well as in Turkey around Cappadocia, which, again, Turkey just went through this earthquake not too far away, from where these things are. And, you know, every time they do something, they trying to get into some ancient place to hook something up or find something or whatever, because this is part of the thing. The surface wars is the money. The occult wars is the stuff that they're using to do with the money. Getting the old crystal, getting the super batteries, getting the old school devices and things that was created, left by us or whatever, that they make movies about and make people feel like it's not real. There is an Area 51. We saw it at the end, Indiana Jones. We saw it at the end of the last one and the beginning of the first one. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So whether you're dealing with Russians or Nazis or whoever, it don't matter. It's whoever.
Yeah, I just wanted to... Hello?
It's just a... Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, this thing that's coming towards us, again, is just a remnant aspect of something that we have already genetically been prepared for based upon the blood and the sacrifice of stuff that was given by the creators and all of that of these calendars. So even though a lot of us will look at the Mayan calendar, like a lot of people look at the Mayan calendar and know what it is, but won't know how to read it. But there's a part of you, your mind, you do know how to read it, even if you don't. So when you're looking at it, you can use that as a mandala the same way you use any other one, as a gateway into shit too. Because these artifacts, everything was left as spiritual tools for us to use. They have rituals where these people get together in the museums and actually, do seances and stuff around the statues to try to gather some of the orgone energy from it. Because some of these statues, what they're not telling people, is radioactive. So get a Geiger counter. Next time you go to one of these survival stores, whatever, get you a little pocket Geiger counter and go to the museum. Turn that shit on. See what happens. The shit will start reading, and they'll be looking at you like, what? Like, yeah. Because some of that stuff, that's got heavy energy on it, man. But and some of them, they don't even know. They don't even know. Because they're so ignorant, they think they own everything, so they don't even bother to look no more. That's also why they're losing, because they got sloppy. Got too for granted, you know.
But I definitely appreciate the explanation, because I was wondering, like, I was seeing all these like correlations with that, like just from listening to the past shows and all. I was like, wow, like why am I seeing this in these books? And just thank you for clearing that up. But I also want to say one more. Huh?
Now, real quick to piggyback on that H.P. Lovecraft thing. That's exactly what you were saying with him. He was in the group too and all of that, and he channeled a lot of that stuff from some of these realms through the Moorish guy that the thing is about, the magician Agbazad. So it's a Moorish book, which is why you can conjure watches and stuff out of it. But you got to be careful on how you understand it, what you understand the Cthulhuan energy to be.
Working with it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say one last thing. You know that Dos Equis commercial with that guy, and it's always like they say his words hold weight that will break a less interesting man's jaw. Every time they say that, I think of you because you always have something really powerful to say. You know what I mean? And I don't you don't meet very many people who actually is like that. Wow, this person really has this weighted words that you just be wow, I can really build off of that or think about that or think. You always have some wisdom, and I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you being my brother, man. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too, man. And it's a good show. I hope. Is there one Friday or no, right?
No, not this Friday. Next Monday.
All right. I'll definitely be
listening.
In. Thank you for having me on.
No doubt, homie. Tell Lenny I said peace.
I definitely will.
Peace.
Thanks. Peace.
Yeah, y'all. So anybody interested in our upcoming class, or if you'd like to pre-register for the Renaissance Art Time Mastery class, definitely in December. Definitely hit us up at houseofl@hotmail.com. Or if you're interested in the current natural equity defense against the zombie bank online course we got going on, please hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. Also check out www.aseertheducateers.com, www.superheruradio.com, www.newmoorishrenaissance.com, www.sagasod.com. Thank you guys for coming through and holding us down. Peace to everyone in the chat for always keeping it live and bringing good positive energy and representing the superhero interests. I know how you guys hold us down and represent. We really appreciate it. And we want to give our support to all of those who support us, and as well as those who don't, Peace to you. Peace to all. And inshallah, anybody wants to holler at me again, holler at me at houseofl@hotmail.com. Definitely check out our website, www.aseertheducateers.com. And inshallah, we'll speak to you guys next Monday. But hold yourself down in case things go awry on the 8th, which again is a heavy Saturn day. So make sure you batten down and stay alert. And inshallah, as this thing passes, put out your personal intents out for what it is you want to see manifest, and whatever manifests, let's project our collective energy into it in a positive projectile of peace and power derived from the singularity that exists within each one of us, because that singularity is the seed of the Most High, and that's why they hate on us, because we have access to make it happen, and a lot of people don't. And we, as original people, need to be strong enough to accept that, speak on that, and don't give a damn whether or not other people respect that or not. We need to respect it first, because from there, we can be and do anything. So with love and light and dark light, we say peace.